Welcome to the Rec Room. I am your host, Lion Reese Penn. This podcast just kind of came out of nowhere. You know, I like to debate, I like to talk. I'm very opinionated, and I figured, why not put it on cam and see what happens? We're going to talk sports, politics, pop culture, just about anything that's on my mind. Right now, it's obviously going to be sports because it's an exciting time of year. It's my favorite time of year. We got baseball coming into spring training. They're getting ready for their season. The NBA and the NHL are getting ready for their playoff runs. The NFL is in the middle of free agency frenzy, and the draft will be coming up soon. March Madness is going on, and there's just a lot to talk about. So we're going to start where most of the buzz in sports is right now, and that's with the frenzy going on in NFL free agency. I'm going to be a homer and start with my team, of course, the New England Patriots, who have more money than Jeff Bezos to spend. I really like what they've been doing. You know, they really solidified that defense that was already pretty good and got a lot better. Milton Williams comes over from Philadelphia. He's fresh off a Super Bowl win. He sacked Patrick Mahomes twice in that game, and I think he's going to wreak havoc in the middle of that defense. You had Harold Landry on the outside. We know this kid can get out after the quarterback. If you look at his last 5 years, 4 of them he had over 10 sacks, and I think he's going to be big. I really hope they don't botch the draft. Abdul Carter is right there for the pickings. If they get him on the other side of Harold with Milton in the middle, we already know what the defensive backs are going to do. Gonzo is an absolute stud. He's a lockdown number one guy on one side. We added Carlton Davis to be our 2. That's a fantastic move. Epps comes over from Vegas. He plays safety. This defense can flat out play, and I think they have a chance to be able to stop anyone in the league. My one worry with New England is offensively. I don't understand why there hasn't been more money put there. I thought Drake May was fantastic as a rookie considering what he had to work with. He has no offensive line, no real weapon that scares anyone, and he showed incredible moxie and toughness in the pocket, taking shots, delivering balls. There's a lot of promise there. Why they're not getting him more help, I'm not sure. I know they tried to sign Chris Godwin. He turned down more money from us to go back to Tampa. It is what it is. But there's a lot of guys out there that they could go to get help. Mac Hollins is cute, but let's be serious. That guy's not legitimate at all. Austin Hooper's nice at tight end, but you need someone that can take the top off the defense. And I'm just not really sure they did that. Also, the offensive line is in shambles. There's really no good protectors there, and you have to get this kid some protection. I know he took a lot of shots last year and kept getting up, but how many times can you pick yourself up off the ground when you're taking shots like that? I just don't really know. If they can solidify that offense, this team has a chance to give Buffalo a run. I already think we're the second best team in that division. Maybe we could be first best. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to score points in the NFL these days. I mean, we're in the flag football era of the NFL. The days of the Baltimore Ravens in the 2000s or the Tampa Bay Bucks holding people to 10 to 13 points are over. The rules just favor offense, so you've got to be able to score, especially when you have Buffalo at the top of that division. Now, Buffalo's kind of weird to me. I don't really understand why they're not doing more. I thought they were right there at the doorstep last year. I had them coming out the AFC, and I was wrong. They fell a little short, but this is a team that's close. They add Joshua Palmer. I do like Palmer. I like what he does as a receiver going deep. I think Josh Allen's going to love throwing him the deep ball, but they still need more weapons, especially with Josh Allen coming off a career year MVP season. On the defensive side, they get Joey Bosa. That was a weird move. I mean, they lost Von Miller. They had Joey Bosa. It's basically old man for old man. I don't think they got much better there. So that's a team that's knocking on the doorstep, but it seems like no one's going to answer the door, and they're just going to stay right where they're at. Pittsburgh, that's a team that's really intriguing. They're in the best division in football, in my opinion. And they've done a couple things that I really like. DK Metcalf coming over from Seattle can really take the top off the defense. He's going to play on the other side of George Pickens, and that makes it maybe the best 1-2 punch at receiver in the league. Now, quarterback's a question. I know they're in talks with Aaron Rodgers. They could possibly bring Russ back. They need to answer that question. I also heard they're talking to Joe Flacco now, which is crazy. That guy's got to be like 50 by now. He had one good run with the Ravens, but what has he done since? I just feel like when you're that close to a Super Bowl contending team, you have to solidify the most important position in football, and that's quarterback. I do love Darius Slay at corner. When you add him to Joey Porter Jr. and an already fantastic defense, they've got a chance to really give offenses a problem. But again, like I stated with the Patriots, you have to be able to score in this era's NFL. And quarterback is a big question for me. So they need to answer that if they're going to compete with the Ravens and the Bengals and teams like that. Staying in that division, the Cleveland Browns. This is a team that obviously isn't going anywhere. Myles Garrett claimed he wanted to trade, claimed he wanted to play for a contender, but like Charlie Sheen said, money talks, and obviously they were able to get him for $40 million a year. I don't get it. That team's going nowhere. Quarterback is an absolute shambles. We already know Deshaun Watson's washed. That was the worst contract in NFL history. Now, they did bring Kenny Pickett over, so I guess they have a guy who has some Super Bowl, experience. Well, I guess sitting on the bench and holding a clipboard, but that's as insignificant a move at quarterback as I've ever seen, and I just don't get what they're doing. So they're a waste. Speaking of teams that are wasting time, the New York Jets signed Justin Fields. We've already seen what Justin Fields can do. At this point, we've given up. He had the potential out of this world for so many years, but at this point, how have we not given up on that guy? He can run, that's about it. He's never going to improve as a passer. That thing's over, and the Jets will continue to be the most irrelevant team in the AFC. The Dolphins got Zach Wilson. I guess, Tua is going to get hurt at some point. That guy has a bad dream and he gets hurt. So he's going to end up having to play, and we've already seen what his ability is on the field. They're done. Then there's the Baltimore Ravens, who are right there close on the door as well. They haven't done much. They go out and get DeAndre Hopkins. This is very similar to when they got Odell Beckham Jr. a few years back at the end of his career. It's just an insignificant move. I just don't think it helps them at all. They're still close, but not there. Since I live in Tennessee, I guess we'll touch on the AFC South, the most insignificant division in football, for a half a second here. If there was a God, no team from that division would make the playoffs. It's an absolute joke. The Texans are probably the best team in that division. CJ Stroud needs some help, though. That offensive line didn't get any better. I love that they signed Joe Mixon last year. You saw what he was able to do in the backfield. But Tank Dell is going to be out most of the season. Stephon Diggs is gone. They signed Christian Kirk, who's past his best year, so I don't think that helps. And that team's hasn't done anything. They haven't done anything to help CJ Stroud, and I don't think they're going up. Jacksonville, I don't even know why I'm wasting my time talking about that team. They're terrible. I said years ago when they drafted Trevor Lawrence that he was not the guy. His best possibility was Kirk Cousins, and his worst possibility is who he is now. A bum probably on his way out. He barely kept his job from Mac Jones, let's be honest. Tennessee, that team is just not doing anything. They're terrible. They don't have any weapons. I know they're about to draft Cam Ward, who's a decent quarterback prospect, but when you consider the team around him, he's probably going to end up being a bust. The Colts get Daniel Jones and probably make it the worst quarterback room in football. Him and Richardson are going to compete to see who's worse, I guess. I don't even know. That team's not beating anybody. Moving to the AFC West, the division that's had the best team in the AFC for a good handful of years now, the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't really know what Kansas City's doing. The salary cap really hurt them. They paid Patrick Mahomes far too much money. I mean, you had to pay him. Obviously, he's a superstar. He's the best quarterback in the league, but they just don't have the money to spend. They bring Elijah Mitchell over from San Francisco to add to that track team that they love having there. It's more speed, but a guy who's not really going to do much. Plus, I love Isaiah Pacheco. He's one of the most violent runners in the NFL. He kind of reminds me of AP. I know he kind of faded late last year, but he was dealing with injuries, so I hope he has a comeback here. That team's good. We know they can defend, but I think their time at the top is done. The Denver Broncos are very intriguing. I really like what they did last year. They took a jump. Bo Nix looks somewhat for real. I mean, obviously he's helped with having Sean Payton as a coach, but that team can play. They add Dre Greenlaw at linebacker. He's a stud. We know what he did in San Francisco all those years. That team could be good. Watch out for him. The Chargers got Najee Harris. I do like that. They're going to be in the red zone a lot. We know that. He's a guy who can take 400 carries or whatever he gets every year. They just work him to the bone. But he's going to have a better year than he's had in Pittsburgh. I really think so. We already know McConkey is a stud at receiver. They need to probably add another weapon there, but I do like what they did. Vegas, bringing on Geno Smith. They finally have a somewhat legitimate quarterback. Now, he was helped in Seattle having DK, Tyler, not Lockett, JSN. He had some weapons over there. He's lacking those in Vegas, but At least they have a quarterback now. Maybe they'll finally be respectable. It's been a long time since they have been. We're talking since probably Rich Gannon. Switching conferences to the NFC, we'll start with the West, where I thought some of the most significant moves of the league were made in the past couple of weeks. The LA Rams, they bring back Matt Stafford. That's huge. You see a lot of teams right now battling for old quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers or bums like Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. So bringing him back gives them a legit chance to maybe have one more run at the top. They lose Cooper Kupp, but they signed Davante Adams. That's an upgrade. Davante Adams, the last 6 weeks of the season, was one of the best receivers in the NFL. He had 85 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns on a really bad Jets team. He now comes over to LA playing opposite side Puka Nacua. We've seen what he's done since he's been in the league. He's absolutely legit. Kieran Williams can really run that rock, and this team probably can score with anybody. The defense played a lot better than I thought a lot of people thought they would last year. After losing Aaron Donald, we weren't really sure how that unit was going to look, but they were decent. I mean, they're not like showstoppers or anything like that. They're not going to shut anyone down, but they give them a chance to come out the West for sure. In fact, I think they definitely win the West, but maybe even make a run at the NFC. It's very possible. I don't really know. Seattle was a team that changed a lot of names. And at the same time, I don't know if they got any better. Like, they lost Tyler Lockett. They lost DK Metcalf. They bring over Cooper Kupp. I don't get that move. This is Seattle. This isn't Vegas. What's with all the slots? I mean, JSN proved the promise and potential he has in that position. And now you bring over a probably injury-prone, washed-up Cooper Kupp over there. I don't see it happening. Their offensive line is still terrible. Sam Darnold was a great signing. I love that he got his money. You know, he's someone that is very easy to root for. I love what he did in Minnesota, but this ain't Minnesota. He doesn't have Kevin O'Connell calling the plays, doesn't have a good offensive line. I know he reunites with Gary Kubiak, and that's a big deal, but Kubiak over there in New Orleans last year ran a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. Who are the tight ends in Seattle that he's going to throw to? Does he plan on putting Cooper Kupp and JSN at tight ends and running it that way? I don't really know. The defense, they're all right. They got DeMarcus Lawrence, so they're going to be better, but at best, they're battling for second place in a wild card. At worst, they're no better than they've been the last few years. Nothing really legitimate there. San Francisco, man, that was a mass exodus. This is a team that is probably on its way to a rebuild at this point. I don't know what they're doing. They lost half the defense. They lost Deebo Samuels. They lost Elijah Mitchell. I do like Brock Purdy, although he was injured last year, but it's decision time. You know, they brought over Mac Jones, and I think they did that for a reason. I think they're questioning whether they want to give Brock Purdy the bag. If he stays healthy and has a good year, maybe, but it's very possible that he's on his way out, and that team is in the basement this year. I think they come in 4th. Arizona is an interesting team. They were actually surprisingly competitive last year, a lot better than I think some of us had. They're still not a legit team, but I do like some of the signings. Josh Sweat on defense is a stud. He can really get after the passer, and you know, they're going to be in 3rd place, so there's not much to talk about there, but I do like that move. NFC North, man, there was some moves made here that I really liked, especially in Minnesota. They let Sam Darnold go. I kind of like the move. I know he had a fantastic year last year, but with Kevin O'Connell, pretty much any decent quarterback is probably going to have a really good year over there in Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy was a guy I was super high on coming out the draft. I had him second behind Jade Daniels for quarterbacks in that draft. And he has a chance now coming off the ACL with a whole lot of weapons and a really good offensive line to become the guy there. I know they're in talks with Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how that goes, but if they don't get him either way, this team's going to be good. Brian Flores can really call a defense. Those exotic blitzes come out of everywhere. He really gets after you. And now they add some defensive linemen. Jonathan Allen and Hargraves from San Francisco are going to be studs in the middle of that defense. They may not have to blitz as much. And if they do, who are you blocking? You're going to have robbers coming out of the outside. You're going to have those big D tackles in the middle stuffing stuff up. And it's going to be hard for defenses to stop them. Offensively, they solidified that offensive line. Will Fries and Ryan Kelly, 2 really good offensive linemen to protect the quarterback. We already know they've got weapons galore over there with J.J., Addison, Hawkinson, Aaron Jones. If they can get the quarterback position set, this is a team that has a chance to come out of the NFC. Now, the team they're going to be competing with is the Detroit Lions. They've been kind of stagnant. They haven't done a lot in the offseason, but they didn't really have to do a lot. This is one of the better teams in the NFL. They were riddled with injuries last year. I mean, it felt like almost everyone on that team was on the injured list. If they can stay healthy with that offense and that defense making some improvements, they added DJ Reed at corner, which is going to be big. We know they need help stopping the pass. But again, the Lions will be right there in the mix for Super Bowl contenders. I really like that team. Chicago is Chicago. They spent $100 million on that offensive line for what? To protect a really bad Caleb Williams. They lost Keenan Allen. They still have DJ Moore. That offense isn't much better to me. I know they're going to protect him, but I've never liked Caleb. I thought he was a bust all along, and I think he will prove to be that bust coming in. Their defense is good, so they'll keep them in games. They have a chance to at least maybe push for a wild card, but I don't have them as a legit contender in that division. Green Bay didn't do much of anything at all. That team's weird. Last year, I thought they were going to take a jump. I thought Jordan Love was coming into his own at the end of the season before, and it looked like he was about to become one of those quarterbacks. Then he gets hurt. Their season goes into kind of shambles. They picked it up at the end and then faded again at the end. I just don't know if they're real. If Jordan Love can go back to the Jordan Love from 2 years ago, the last few weeks of the season, they're legit. If he reverts back to the guy he was at the end of last year after the injuries, then they're probably not that good. NFC South now, the second worst division in football. Man, it's got to be tough to be a football fan in the South. Good thing they love their college because there's no pro team worth writing home about. Tampa Bay brings back Chris Godwin. I like that move if he stays healthy, which they obviously think he will considering the contract that they gave him. That offense can score. Baker Mayfield finally found the home. He's a legit quarterback. He gives them a chance. They're going to compete for the division for sure. They won it last year. They bring on Hassan Reddick, who's a fantastic pass rusher. Sterling Shepard gives them a slot receiver to add to the outside weapons that they already have. It's either them or Atlanta for the division. Now, Atlanta's moving on from Kirk Cousins. They're moving to Michael Penix Jr., so who knows what that team's really going to look like. It's really going to depend on him. The defense can really stop the pass. I love Bijan Robinson in the backfield. He's a stud. Drake London on the outside, Kyle Pitts. It'll be them or Tampa for the division crown. Carolina, they haven't done a lot, but they did improve at the end of last year. You finally saw Bryce Young starting to find a groove there, figuring out the NFL game and how to play. And they're on the uprise. They're improving. Are they legit? Are they going to contend for the division? Probably not. New Orleans, listen, the cap caught up to them. They're in shambles. There's no one on that team worth talking about. I know Alvin Kamara's great and all that, but legitimately, they bring back Cam Jordan, who's as old as a dinosaur. There's no one really good on that team, and I just don't think they're even worth mentioning. NFC East, where the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions reside, the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't really do a lot, but when you win a Super Bowl, you don't really have to do a lot. They bring Dorian Thompson from Cleveland over there to help the defensive backfield. Outside of that, they didn't make a lot of moves, but again, I think that team, obviously winning a Super Bowl, showed you how legit they are. Saquon had the year of his life. Thank you for winning my fantasy league, by the way. Love you, Saquon. Jalen Hurts is legit. A.J. Brown. I mean, they've just got a great football team. They're going to be right in the mix of it again. The team to watch in that division is Washington. This team was a game away from the Super Bowl last year. Jaden Daniels showed his worth right away in this league. He's going to be an absolute superstar. They add Deebo Samuel, one of the best playmakers with the ball in his hands. If he can stay on the field, opposite side Terry McLaurin, look out for this offense. Laramie Tunsil comes over to play left tackle and protect his blind side. I really love that move. It was the only legit lineman that the Texans had, and they let him go. Washington was happy to take him. The joke of football, the Dallas Cowboys really didn't do a whole lot. I mean, Miles Sanders is a cute piece at running back, but what are they doing? They let DeMarcus Lawrence walk out the building. They still haven't re-signed Marco Parsons. I wouldn't be surprised if he asks a trade because that team just doesn't look like they're interested in winning. I mean, Jerry's over there doing his Jerry's World thing, making money, and that's all great. The team's worth more than any other team in the league, but is winning really what they care about? They continue to just wait too long to sign their guys and not add any free agents of any kind of legitimacy to help them. The New York Giants are a joke. They got Danny DeVito's kid playing quarterback. I don't know what they're doing over there. They need to sign somebody. I know they're in talks with Aaron Rodgers. I hope Aaron doesn't waste his time and go over there because that would be the end of his career. The defense isn't legit. The offense isn't legit. And they're just horrible. They're in a complete rebuild. We'll get off football for a little bit and move over to my second favorite sport, boxing, the sweet science. A lot of fun things have happened in boxing lately and coming up, and so we're going to talk a little bit about it. We'll start with the Lamont Roach Gervonta Davis fight. This is a black eye on boxing. I don't know what happened there. Gervonta Davis should have received his first ever career loss. The judges had it a majority draw. 2 judges had it a tie. 1 gave it to Gervonta by a point. But what about that knockdown? Listen, it's boxing. If your knee touches the canvas, it's a knockdown. You don't get a break mid-round. That's what between the rounds is for. His knee went down. They didn't rule it a knockdown. That 2-point round would have made all the difference. Gervonta Davis, listen, you talk a lot of smack, man. You're always saying how you're better than Floyd Mayweather. And honestly, the only comparison I have to you and Floyd, or where you guys are alike, is that you both pick and choose whack opponents that shouldn't have a chance to beat you. I will say this about Floyd, though. At least he took care of business versus those bumps. You got absolutely beat by Lamont Roach. I don't care what anybody says. I know it was a close fight, and it was, but it shouldn't have been. That wasn't a guy who should have given you problems, and he did. His timing, his pace, he landed legitimate shots, and you did get knocked down in that round. That should have been a loss. I guess you found out really quickly that it's a lot harder in that boxing ring than it is when you're beating up baby mamas and IG models on the side. May 2nd, we've got a big card going on. I mean, we've got Devin Haney making his return after getting the brakes beat off him by Ryan Garcia. I don't want to hear anything about PEDs, man. He whooped the crap out of you. Garcia is actually on that card as well. He's going to be fighting Rolly Romero. What's up with Rolly Romero? What is that speech impediment that he has? Listen, if you're in boxing, you can't sound that soft and weird. I don't understand why that guy ever speaks. They just need to stick to boxing and not let him get on a microphone. Teofimo Lopez, who's one of the most outspoken boxers and talented guys in the ring, is fighting Barbosa. I think all the favorites are going to take care of business. I think Haney wins, Garcia wins, Teofimo wins. And that sets up an interesting card going forward because some of the big names in boxing are getting old. Obviously, Terrence Crawford, who I'll touch on a little bit later, Canelo Alvarez, their fight I'm going to definitely talk about. But both those guys are in their late 30s and probably on their way out. We need young faces in boxing who are going to come out. And I don't know who it is right now. This card could really determine a lot. Canelo still has to fight William Skull. He should walk through him with no problems, which will set up that super fight with Terrence Bud Crawford later in the year. I think it's September that they set the date. That's going to be the biggest fight, I'd say, in the last 5 years at least, but definitely in a very long time. You got 2 guys who are probably the best fighters of their eras going head up. Who do y'all like? I like Canelo, personally. I think Bud Crawford going up 2 weight classes to beat him at a higher weight is going to make a huge difference. I know Bud has all the talent in the world. He's one of my favorite fighters going right now, but that's a lot to ask. We've seen what happens when guys have to jump that many weight classes. The power is just a little bit different. And it's not like Canelo ain't a stud as a boxer as well. He's got all the skill set in the world, and he might end up going down as the best fighter of this generation. That fight will determine it. Give me Canelo all day. Recently just watched the Daniel Dubois versus Anthony Joshua fight. Man, was that crazy. 87% of the fans, Vegas, everyone had Anthony Joshua probably walking through this guy and having a pretty easy win. And instead, he got annihilated. I haven't seen a beating that bad since Chris Brown beat the crap out of Rihanna. I mean, this thing was over quick. I'm going to touch on it a little bit in my favorite segment of the show, The Lion's Den, because Anthony Joshua, that was an embarrassing performance for a guy who's supposed to be a legitimate heavyweight in the world. As you see, the lights have gone red because my eyes have gone red. This is my favorite part of the show. We're going to call it The Lion's Den. This is basically where I just pick people apart who have annoyed me or bothered me throughout the week. They ended up in my line of sights, and since I have a proclivity and an affinity for starting shit, I'm going to do just that. Don't like what I say, feel free to get in the comments like a lazy fat dude. I promise I'm not running for shit. I'm going to start over there in Chicago with Angel Reese, that ratchet Barbie doll, that oversized circus freak at 6'3". You're lucky you play in that YMCA children's league called the WNBA where you tower over everyone, because you are not good at basketball, baby girl. I'm an almost 40-year-old man coming off paralysis, washed up, and in a game to 21, you wouldn't get 5 on me. You're threatening to strike? Please do. We would love for the WNBA to strike so that we don't have to front the bill from the men's league anymore. You guys coming off your best financial year ever, the most buzz you've ever had, and you still lost $40 million. What are you talking about, raises? Be glad that you have a platform and a place to play because you don't deserve that much. You're not good at basketball. No free agents went to Chicago. There's a reason for that. Angel Reese is toxic. Her pronouns are I and me. And I honestly hope she sits out because I'm tired of listening to her. You really want to raise? You really want to make more money? Maybe you should get on the streets and put that mouth to actual good use. Next is Anthony Joshua. What an embarrassing performance that was not too long ago versus Daniel Dubois. You're supposed to be one of the legit heavyweight contenders in the world, and you just didn't show up at all that night. I mean, he went off on you. He lived up to that Triple D nickname, landing the bigger, heavier blows. He was more than a handful for you all night. In the early rounds, you took more blows than an Owen Gray catalog. It was crazy. He put you to sleep. The only thing that woke you up was that head-first collision with the ropes, which led to that pitiful attempt to get up where you ended up in the downward dog position or whatever the heck that yoga position's called when your ass is up in the air and your face is down. Your days as a legit heavyweight are absolutely gone. Say goodbye to him. You are now a stepping stone fighter. Nobody cares to see you fight, and it's over. Finally, Nico Harrison. For those of you who don't know, that's the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks. We're a few weeks removed from what was probably one of the worst trades in NBA history, if not the worst trade. I mean, we've seen what's happened since the deal. Exactly what I said would happen. Dallas would fall from the standings and probably out of the playoffs. And the Lakers are right in the mix of things. They're in the top 5 of the West. They're a contender. They have a legit shot with that team to come out, and it was a great move for them. I mean, Nico claims that he traded Luka because he struggled with health or conditioning and all these things, but you brought Anthony Davis, who's older, just as injury prone as you see he's on the injured list now. You ended up losing Kyrie and all those big men. I mean, I didn't understand the deal at the time. I still don't understand it. This thing was atrocious. It was the most tragic thing that had happened in Dallas since JFK got shot. I mean, this was the worst thing to happen to Dallas since the Cowboys. Get that Indeed resume ready, Mr. Nico, because your time as an NBA executive is probably over. I don't even know why I'm so shocked. I mean, we remember he was with Nike. He was the guy who botched the deal that would have brought Steph Curry, the best player of this generation, over to Nike, instead leading him to Golden State. I mean, he spelled the guy's name wrong. It's not even a difficult name to spell. He put on a video that was tailor-made for KD, I think is what the report said, and it was just an awful move. There's no doubt in my mind that Nico Harrison will lose his job in the next couple of years, and I'll probably end up buying a used car from him in the near future. Happy trails, my friend. Well, that's going to be all for this first week, this first episode. That was a lot of fun, man. I really enjoy talking about these kind of things, like I said. I'm sure there were a lot of little kinks and errors in that first one, but we're going to just keep sending, keep working on it, and hopefully get something of value here. Tune in next week, all 5 of you who have probably tuned in this first weekend. Like I said, hopefully we'll see the improvements. I enjoy doing this, and I'm going to keep doing it, so appreciate that.